All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, this is a story that we all saw coming. Everybody knew that this was the eventual result of what we saw with Dragon Age the Veilguard. And just like the other day, where I made my final video on Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, considering the shutdown and considering the revelation of the clones and everything like that, we are now going to most likely anyway be making our final video regarding Dragon Age the Veilguard, because ultimately it has ended with the exit of Corin Bush. The director over at Dragon Age the Veilguard has officially left the company. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are here. We knew that this was going to happen. It was an eventuality that we all knew was going to happen. And here we are finally talking about it and realizing that, wow, we sacrificed Dragon Age for this person. It's unbelievable to really think about the fact that we have lost Dragon Age as an IP. We have lost Dragon Age as a franchise because this person wanted to play house in their own video game. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I'm happy to report that this is finally happening. So let's get into this article from smashjt.com. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So he says, exclusive, Corin Bush is out at Bioware and the Edmonton studio closure looms. Now, if you guys are not sure who the Edmonton studio is, that is a studio that is responsible for Dragon Age the Veilguard. So there is also a rumor that the Edmonton studio is going to be closing down shortly after the leaving of Corin Bush, and will most likely be the reason why Corin Bush left. Because let's be honest, I don't think Corin Bush left of their own accord. I really don't. And this is just my own little personal mindset looking at the situation from the outside. But it seems to me we have another Alyssa situation going on where they were essentially forced out of the business, quite frankly, because of their decisions. Most likely their contract got bought out by Bioware with a couple of months of severance pay, and they let him go. That seems to be the case anyway. So it says Bioware is on the brink, and the departure of Corin Bush and rumors of Edmonton closure signal trouble ahead. Now, again, if you guys don't remember who Corin Bush is, this is the picture of the game director, somebody who trans themselves in order to make sure they could stay in the industry for as long as possible. Most likely, this person will untrans themselves if they cannot find another job in the industry. But again, that's my own little personal conspiracy or idea. So the once legendary RPG studio known as Bioware has been the cornerstone of the gaming industry for decades. But a long line of failures between Mass Effect Andromeda, Anthem, and now Dragon Age the Veilguard were troubling signs of a studio heading towards a catastrophic downfall. I have been passed along very credible information from an inside source that Corin Bush, the man cosplaying as a woman game director of the failed Dragon Age the Veilguard, has officially left the company as of a few days ago, and that's just one wild piece of the puzzle, painting a grim picture for the studio's future. Now, the only thing I will say before we get into the email, because there's a leaked email here that I want to get into. Before we get into the email, I understand that some people are going to take this news as fantastic, right? And I don't blame you. It is fantastic news. It really is. But do not get too excited too quickly, number one. And number two, I would not start thinking that Mass Effect is suddenly going to become based, or Mass Effect is suddenly going to be saved at the fact that Dragon Age the Veilguard's director is no longer working on it, or the fact that Edmonton Studio, even if Edmonton Studio closes down, yes, that's going to be fantastic news. Of course, yes, we're going to realize that a lot of the Wokies that worked on Veilguard will most likely be out or fired, but it doesn't matter. Like, BioWare still enabled this behavior. BioWare knew exactly what Corin Bush was doing for 10 years. 10 years on Dragon Age the Veilguard. They knew exactly what Corin Bush was doing, and they advocated for it. They said, you know what? Have at it. Slay, Queen. It's all good. Sacrifice our RPG just because you want to push politics. Perfectly fine. So they knew exactly what was happening, and they advocated for this. They enabled it. So I wouldn't be celebrating too quickly just because the studio closed down and this director has left the company. It's a very small win in an otherwise war that's happening within BioWare right now, which we could tell by this email. So let's go over it. So these are the final words of Corin Bush. Let's see what he had to say. It said, hard to believe that I'm writing these words, but here it goes. It's time for me to say goodbye. Today is my last day at BioWare and EA. After so much contemplation, I've decided to pursue a new challenge and a new project doing what I love most, making RPGs. It wasn't an easy decision, as I mean it when I say I love BioWare, the Dragon Age team, and what we've all accomplished together. My time with all of you has been the highlight of my career. I'm very worried if this person is actually genuinely working on another RPG. I don't know where they're going to end up. They're probably going to try to keep it as quiet as possible, but let's be real. Considering they are a trans person, number one, BioWare did not want the press of firing a trans person, which is why they most likely paid him out on his contract and told him to leave. At least that's my conspiracy anyway. But ultimately, I'm very concerned as to what studio this person is going to get hired by. Hopefully, it's some random indie studio, but I highly doubt they can afford him, considering he was a director at BioWare. Chances are he's most likely going to be in the AAA gaming industry, and what company, I have no idea. Maybe Ubisoft. I hear they're hiring. He says, I want to offer my personal thanks to each of you for your trust, your companionship, and for the many ways in which you've inspired me and helped me grow. I'll be eagerly waiting to see what great experiences you create next. And as a fan, I'll be rooting for you. You clearly weren't rooting for them when you led them down path of ruin. You know what I mean? Like, you clearly had the trust and the companionship of your team, only for you to lead them down the path of ruin by interjecting your own politics and forcing everybody to go along with it. Now, chances are not everybody was forced to go along with it, because let's be honest with you, there's a lot of wokies that work at BioWare that were probably all for it. They thought they were all doing something so stunning and brave, and they thought that Dragon Age was such a huge IP that they were too big to fail. Well, you found out very quickly that that was not the case whatsoever, obviously. Then it says, if I can leave you with any advice, it is this. We all know that making games is hard. I don't know why that has to do with anything, but okay. It's part of why we do it, but making games is also about the people and the reliance we have on one another. So take the time to celebrate the wins and lift each other up. The challenge and the work will always be there, but the moments we have each other are precious and few. Let's stay in touch. Now, this whole thing is a massive gaslight, right? And this is the reason why they have so many problems. This circle jerk of toxic positivity is the reason why that they are failing, because they don't want to actually talk to each other and say, hey, this is probably a little bit of a bad idea, or perhaps this is a little bit hypocritical, or perhaps we should not be doing this, right? Perhaps we're a little bit too ham-fisted with this. Maybe we should dial it back a little bit and focus more on the story and how we can flesh out the characters to make them a little bit more believable, instead of just, hey, this person's non-binary, so you must like them. Right? Like, this is the most ridiculous thing, and this is why they will continue to fail. Companies like BioWare and any other company like them, like Ubisoft, they all have this same issue, where the developers only care about what each other thinks and not what the gamers think, the people who they're making the product for. They're so focused on trying to make each other happy, they're so focused on trying to lie to each other, that they're not able to actually deliver a product that people would be happy with. As long as they're happy with it, that's all they care about. And we've had confirmation of this when Corin Bush did an interview with the Eurogamer, I believe it was, where Corin Bush said that they decide success based off two factors, which is whether or not the developers are happy with the product and whether or not the mainstream gaming journalists are giving them high scores. That's it. That's the only two factors they consider the game to be successful. It's not sales. It's not whether or not gamers are happy, because they don't give a fuck about any of those things, which is why they are where they are today. So then it says, while his message tries his darndest to sound optimistic, highlighting his love for BioWare and its teams, his jarring sudden departure comes across as someone who failed miserably at what they are doing. Now, Smash JT has confirmed this with his insider. I don't know if he has a picture of it. It doesn't look like it. But he has confirmed this with his insider over at BioWare, where the insider emailed Smash JT back and said, yes, Corin Bush is gone, and the Edmonton studio is most likely going to be closed down sometime in February of 2025, when Electronic Arts has its quarterly town hall meeting. So I guess we're going to have to wait till February to get the full confirmation of whether or not BioWare's Edmonton studio is going to close down. But as of right now, Corin Bush is out at BioWare, and is something to celebrate. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it if you get to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.